All right. Well, here we are. Take note, episode five, I believe. Um, Today we have a real special guest, friend of mine. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him over the years. We have today with us Amir Marmar of JFDI Accountants and Consultants. You'll learn a little bit more about what JFDI stands for later, and it's a pretty good story. So I'm sure Amir will grace us with that. Amir is an accountant by trade, but really he's a no BS business whisperer. A corporate refugee, Amir went on and started JFDI in 2012 in Las Vegas. Since then, he has grown the company to many employees with a robust back office operation. And he's also fully remote, and this was before the pandemic. So it'll be interesting to see how he has built such a robust and diverse team that I believe spans the globe. Amir breaks down his successes into four categories: team, relationships, responsiveness, and high quality results. And I guess you can also say those categories are encapsulated by his personal mantra: hustle, hustle, hustle. There's so much to dive into with Amir and his fascinating background as a professional poker player. I simply can't do it justice. So it's time for me to shut up and hand over the mic to the man you're here for. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Amir Marmar. Amir, welcome.
Yeah, excited to be here, Punkage. Thank you for having me on your show. Yeah, one, you're right. It's also great to be in your world. I know we've collaborated on some mutual clients and stuff, so there's a good nexus between you and I. Again, I think the framing of my background sounds fairly accurate. I think the story isn't your normal traditional path to, how we got here today. And if you want me to kind of wind back the time a little bit and take us through at least a timeline to, bring us to where we're at today, I'll start.
Yeah, no, I love to because you're here also because I felt like you had such a interesting dynamic background, and I love to have people on here that not just normal corporate world, but really have done something different, took a chance, and based on their background, really leveraged that into something that they really believe in and they're proud of today. So yeah, please, if you'd be so kind as to kind of take us back to kind of where it started. Tell us a little bit more about maybe where you came from and kind of how you grew up and how that's influenced kind of what you've turned this company into today.
Yeah, it starts in the beginning. I think grew up in New York, very diverse, fast-paced, city and state. Got my schooling there. I did get an accounting degree. Sometimes you don't have to start where you end up, right? People
Right.
sometimes make life decisions and at different points in time, but I figured I didn't know when I went to school what degree I should get. It was a business school, but I was good in math. So by default, I said, let me throw something on the board: marketing, finance, economics. I said, okay, accounting, that sounds good to me. So I got my degree in 2000. From there, actually, as a senior in college, I would always ask a ton of questions because I'm very inquisitive and curious. It's actually one of the secret fundamentals I teach the team. Curiosity and determination is two components that will make you like an awesome accountant. So I always asked a lot of questions in school. The teacher noticed that, liked it, and said, hey, you'd be good for like this job where I know a friend works at. And and I took it. I met my mentor there, Randy. I was within walking distance of the Twin Towers when they were still there.
Wow.
Used to have to take the train and underneath, actually, used to come out of the World Trade and walk like the block up the park to get to the office.
Wow.
Definitely some sentiment, around like where I geographically sat when I first started working. It's something that's unforgettable. Again, these are all things that we're bringing up as part of things of who I am today, just so you know.
Were you there on September 11th?
No, so I worked till the end of August. The company liked me, thought I was talented and really good, wanted to like convert me because I graduated by then from kind of like this up and coming accountant to like full time. They kept the lane, but I'm a man on a mission. I didn't feel like waiting when the deferment of like the role for, didn't fruition. So I just decided to quit. So 2 weeks prior to I quit. I do remember exactly where I were on that day when I woke up. I was in New Jersey in my bed, turned the TV on, and 10 minutes after, I'm like, it's a moment I'll never forget in my life.
Yeah, I bet. Being there, like, being a New Yorker, being, in that, I mean, to use that subway station on a daily basis. And yeah, I mean, I remember being there. I was there about 2 or 3 days actually before they went down. And it was, yeah, it's just surreal still, to this day. Yeah.
Yeah. Our building was super close. So after, even as early on, like I went to visit, the building got hit with a ton of debris and stuff. So I went in once the dust settled, and that was really it. Like really there was dust, right? Like it was just bad, and it kind of settled, and met up with Randy, who was the controller at that time, and chatted. And, a little bit later in the accounting career, he actually moved on to a different company, which is an architectural engineering firm. We kept in contact. He's like, hey, like you should maybe think about coming here, because I think he liked, my style and what I brought to the table super early on. So I joined him at another place in New York. The one thing that people don't know, like or probably forget, we're focused on 9/11, but a year after we had a blackout. That's something that people don't even know if they do know, but a year later, there was a massive blackout. All of a sudden, we're in an office working. All the power goes down. Everyone starts panicking. Is this like 9/11? Because we're on edge for a while, right? So we start panicking. Like, is this kind of 9/11 all over again? All New York was down, by the way. People walking on the streets, and it was chaos. And I had to walk 10 to 15 miles to get home that day, across the bridge, and everyone was walking. You felt bad, you try to help like the elderly and stuff like that. So anyway, people remember 9/11, but they forgot about the big blackout a year later. So
that was the one, like almost the East Coast, like the entire East Coast, or like was it like a huge transformer or something that
yeah. It was the whole like New York and up, but like, it was bad. Like you had actually some deaths that resulted because it happened during a heat wave, and you had elderly that were living in homes without air conditioning and stuff. And it was another traumatic event that you just kind of flagged, but New Yorkers, again, focus on the 9/11, but we had one of those. But back to the accounting, I stayed that corporate kind of route until like 2005. Got into poker, as you mentioned, on the front end. That was just, I don't know, you show up at a game, you play with some friends, and you're like, wait, this game's kind of cool. And you kind of make money along with it. And I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of cool too. So my last job in New York, I was working for Modell's, which is an East Coast sporting goods store chain. Got to go to Mo's, and they just actually went down under, because retail's slowing down, right? But they just went down like 3 to 6 months ago. But
really,
yeah, they went out. It's hard. Retail is just all online, and Amazon is kind of crushing. But I worked at Modell's. Literally, I walk around the office with poker chips. Like I was just so into poker, and I worked hard, and I just really started to think about things like I really enjoy playing, and I kind of went to that adage of why not? Like, what's stopping me from doing something irrational and taking like a risk? So that's what I did. I told them like, hey, like I am quitting and I'm going to be playing, but it's more rash than that because I just jumped in the car, packed it up, and drove to Vegas, not knowing anyone, and moved. So I had to tell my family this was my own life decision, but it's kind of like the characteristic and trait of me of, at least what people call him, is just someone that just doesn't have fear. On the poker circuit, they call me No Fear Amir. So I guess it kind of like went along with it, but that was it. Like, hey, screw the job. Like I'm liking this kind of poker thing right now, and drove in, and I played, 6 to 7 years. I would say the lifestyle's lazy and unhealthy. So probably not recommended. There was a big boom back then with like ESPN and stuff. And I made it on a couple of like ESPN clips and stuff like that.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that are out there.
I'll have to look
So
those up, man, after this. Wow, that's very cool. So poker's, I mean, it's fascinating because, I've played casually here and there. What was it about poker that drew you in? Like, what was it? The rush? Was it just the numbers? Like, what did you find that was so enticing about it? The money?
Um, yeah, I mean, there's the analytical aspect of it, of just like understanding like equity and positions you have in the hand, but there's also the psychological, like warfare. It's kind of like business, Sun Tzu and stuff like that, like
Yeah,
part of it is like negotiating and stuff like that.
right.
I think it was those two kind of that drew me. I think also like, honestly, it was my first ever entrepreneurship experience, if you think about it. I went from not working for someone. Someone just reported that Facebook Live may be down, so you may want to,
Oh,
I don't know if you want to check that or not, but
oh yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah. What happened here? Let me try it again.
yeah,
Sorry, guys. Today's technical issues. Never
that's
have issues.
okay.
It is recording, which is good. So that's something
Yeah, that's
good.
fine. I'll continue though. So it's like, it's just the analytical and psychological, but it was the first, entrepreneurship dive that I had, just kind of saying, hey, I don't have to listen to someone else's rules and show up when they want me to, and I can just, create my own fortune and my own path. So I
Right.
would say like that's the business parallel, and I did that for a while. Eventually, like for various reasons, the game got boring, I guess. It wasn't as challenged. Like it didn't, I need to be challenged. That's how I am. I don't like to do easy stuff, which is eventually while we get into the space that we specialize in. But
Right.
easy is boring. And the game wasn't easy, I would say, but it just didn't challenge me enough. And I just wasn't as excited. So, yeah, I went back to accounting. I got a job in Vegas. I was kind of like a senior accountant. I took a salary that was like way less than what I was worth because I had the full confidence that I could just go in there, crush, and just show my value. I just had the
Oh,
utmost confidence. I take a job for probably like 50K or something, where I was probably worth like 70 to 80. But I'm like, that's okay. Like I'm just gonna come in there. I'm gonna do my thing, and I'm sure I'll be able to just work my way up. And surely enough, about a year and a half later, I went from like the staff senior accountant to the CFO to manage like 90 LLCs. And it was for, Vegas businessman. That's his net worth was like 150 plus million. We have a high net, a luxury resort in Montana. And yeah, I kind of believed in myself. I think that is like, again, a fundamental eventually that leads into JFDI. Like
yeah.
you have to have the belief first and confidence in yourself and
Yeah.
your abilities, like before like you go and take any risk or any plunge, because otherwise, like, yeah, I wouldn't, your chances of succeeding are probably lesser. I think just having confidence is extremely important.
Yeah.
And like beyond business, right? Like just general life, for people, just have confidence. Don't let others knock you down. Believe in yourself. Like know for yourself who you are. Don't let people tell you who you are. That's how I am in life. I don't care what they say. Well respected and well liked, but I don't focus on that.
Yeah.
I know for myself who I am, and I'm good with it. I have like a lot of my core strengths, and of course I'm not perfect. Yeah, I have like some things that I try to work on, and I'm very self-aware of that stuff. But so yeah, that was it. I went back. Poker was a good entrepreneurship experience. So then I went inverse, decided to have a schedule and work for someone. And that kind of led me to the moment though of JFDI, like that experience of going to the CFO level, managing 90 LLCs. Like I learned a crap load there. Like the learning was just, so we're moving fast. My responsibility was growing. I learned by myself. It was kind of like self-taught
Right.
at that point. But I think that environment exposed me, to again acquire more things in my tool belt to take that dive. And then for the last year of the employment there, I started to live here in California. You know, I was getting close to getting married, but the job was in Vegas. So we worked out an arrangement where every other week I would drive to Vegas. So it kind of became hard on a relationship perspective. It was literally 1 week in Cali, and then I would leave, 1 week in Vegas, 1 week in Cali, 1 week in Vegas.
Yeah.
And I worked hard there too. I hardly slept. I still do that today, by the way. So I'll give some secrets later as to
Yeah, I want to hear your secrets, man.
How to scale and grow. That didn't change though. I think it was just a fundamental of who I am today. But yeah, like I was always on the go. I did a lot of other things that I didn't even mention, even going back when I was corporate in New York. Like, you know, we commuted 2-3 hours. I worked till it closes 8-9 p.m. I donated my time, and I was an ice hockey coach. I took our team to state champ runner-ups. Actually, we were really good. Under an organization that was run by the Devil's owner, by the way. So we met Brodeur and, you know, all these other like stars. But for me, like, I always kept myself busy. And again, just some of the mentalities and secrets of who I am and kind of like what I started to bring. But at the end of 2012, I think a year of like commuting some back and forth, you know, I mean, all boss, say we had some differences on agreed compensation and what my role should look like. And
I think that's a true trait of an entrepreneur. You have to have differences with your boss.
We have some differences. And, you know, we talk about what JFDI stands for, which we can get into, but you know, I just kind of said, F it. Like, I really did. I'm like, I just believed in myself that I didn't have the plan at that moment in time, but I knew that I was going to figure it out. And it was November of 2012 is when I left like a 6-figure job, not having a backup plan, and decided to help my friend to just like untangle like a mess with accounting for like $1,000. And then that started the moment of like how JFDI was born and like where we're at today, and that initial friend engagement. 2 months out the gate, like I recreated like his books, and they were messy, and I found like 130K of like missing money that he didn't even know about. About like 80 to 90 was the accounts receivables he was unaware of, and we got it all collected. 35 to 40 was stolen, and it was through entities offshore, and I created this thing, and I got it all like, you know, collected. So my first client was a friend. The case study was pretty strong and compelling, and he referred me to 2 guys, and they started 2 tech companies that both exited actually 3-4 years later, and then that kind of snowballed into like who we are today. You know, the sophisticated company that, you know, provides like, you know, the outsourced solution for early stage and middle stage tech companies of external accounting, consulting, you know, like the crypto side of the world and the blockchain, where there's just not many good providers or specialists to understand that. There's the ones that are doing it wrong, but, you know, it was that moment back then of kind of leaving that job, not having any stability. So, you know, it's easier for people to leave when you have that stability, right? When someone goes and looks for a job, what do? They don't tell their boss. They hang on to the job and the paycheck. See, I don't do that. If anything, you know, JFDI and the name itself is exactly who I am. I'm different. I don't want to follow someone's rules. I want to create my own path. I don't care what my competitor is doing, because I don't have competitors. I'm doing my own thing, creating my own lane.
What does it stand for? You got to tell people. We still haven't revealed what JFDI stands for.
Yeah, it stands like, when I said F it, like JFDI, it's just, you know, just fucking do it. That's, you know, Nike has their just do it thing, but we just fucking do it. But the reality is there's actually like a real meaning behind it. So like the whole point of JFDI when I started is you kind of meet a lot of people in life, and they're really good talkers, and we still come across them today. I'm going to go raise money, I'm going to do it, and then you see them later and they're still talking about it. I'm like, well, why haven't you done it? And there's like a ton of excuses. My dog ate the homework, and, you know, there's like the talkers, and the mentality is actually true. Like, I built this well-oiled machine of doers. We crank stuff out faster than anyone else. We respond to emails faster. And, you know, I wanted to I was good in understanding the landscape in 2013 and 14, that I would think like external providers had a bad rep, and what was kind of the reputation around them was, you know, you email a consultant or a web guy or whatever, and he responds to you 3 days later.
Right.
And it could get kind of frustrating because they don't care and stuff like that. So I built this thing where it's like, I responded to every single email I've ever gotten since the company, besides like spam, right? Every email I've ever gotten, I've always responded, and I respond super fast. And I want to undo that mentality that existed against like external service providers, that we're internal, we're with you. We're just not at the office right there, but you can call me, you can text me, you can Slack me, we have private channels, and you know, but that was it. I saw the landscape like ahead, and I was trying to change the game and, you know, undo a lot of like negative connotation around external service providers.
Absolutely. That's fascinating. You know, and I want to kind of talk a little bit about that, and also then move to, you know, technology, because I know that's a big element of your practice that I wanted to kind of get into. But like just talking about, you know, just operations and you know, your mindset. I mean, I think it's super impressive, like how fast you do get back to people. You know, you're always on, you know, you're always responding my messages, always on it. You know, but I wonder, like, is there a time where it conflicts with you trying to get deeper work done? You know, you trying to get actually complicated, you know, solve complex problems, but then feeling, you know, attached to having to respond to everything? Because I mean, I struggle with that sometimes too. And I was wondering how you navigate those kind of conflicts.
I still say it in my internal meetings. That's still like a problem. I try to kind of delineate working in the company versus on the company. So even someone like yourself understands that, right? Like when you're in the company, it's like, I got to be in there. I got to be doing the work. I'm operationally involved. I'm doing the admin, the HR, the product development. Like, you know, I'm helping like the work move. I got to get on like certain meetings and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? So like, okay, I got to be on the call. So it's like at some point, like, that's in the company, like I'm working on clients and stuff, but like, you know, finding the time to work on the company and kind of stepping out and like figuring out, okay, big picture, like how do I improve like employee performance? That's working like on the company. Like how do I build like potentially a new service offering? Like how do I build like another strategic partnership and stuff? So I would say, like, I do agree with you, coming back to like your real question is, and specifically emails, right? Emails is just like a big problem. And I think a lot of us, just like myself, I do find myself sometimes living in my inbox, and it's really difficult. So yeah, so you want to know how I solved it? It's not going to be a good answer for most of the people in the world, but I start at 4 a.m. I start at 5 a.m. Today I started at 4:30, I think. But yeah, I start early, so I have like the pre-day. You know, everyone can start. It doesn't matter. People can just start 1 hour early. You don't have to start like me. I'm in a different beast probably there, but just even 1 hour. So if like, you know, like things get crazy, right? You should have a heat map of your workday, right? Like when like people call you, when they text you, I need this, there's an emergency. Like you should know, like, okay, it usually starts 8:30. Even if they allocate an extra hour, that's like your free hour right there to really get stuff done. Absolutely. You know, how else I do it? Honestly, weekends. It's nice and quiet. I'm not under the storm, you know, like here's like what we need or whatever. So I think one way, not there's others, right? There's different strategies. But one way to combat this is to just create some extra time when things are a little bit quieter.
Interesting.
Two is, you know, I think there's different strategies to potentially not getting stuck too much to like the inbox or whatever. You know, one, I think I read this about Tony Hsieh from like Zappos or something where, you know, and I kind of like that strategy where you come in today, but you process like yesterday's emails, and you're always doing like a 1 day, and you always allocate that, like, here's my 1 hour to emails or something. Right. And then like typically like when you want to kind of flag throughout the day is any emergency type, and then like high priority, okay, like maybe like check it every once in a while. So I think that's another strategy to potentially like combat that, is you always process like yesterday's emails today, and you allocate yourself a set amount of time, and you plan your day. So like, you know, my day is full of calendars and calls or whatever. That doesn't really change. I have like, you know, a stack today, but like my day's kind of planned. I already know coming today, I got like these calls that I'm aware of. Right. I already know the bucket of unplanned calls that happens every day. There's usually like 1 to 2 hours there. Right. And I know like my length of the day, you know, I said it was 14 hours or whatever, 12 or 10 or whatever. So you can allocate, okay, I got to get this thing out the door today. So let me leave myself 2-3 hours. So I try to disconnect. Honestly, I put some music on, and then I get into like the detail. But usually I like to do it like off. I feel like less pressurized when it's quiet in the early mornings. The weekends are kind of nice and subtle. Less nights, that's definitely like family time. You know, I kind of like have like a hard switch there, but I know that's like a big struggle for a lot. I would advise a lot of people to create a balance, just like you have a balanced life schedule, to create a balance within your work schedule. It's super important. You got to keep everything moving. I could tell you another secret though.
Sure.
This one I'm working on. The third secret to really fixing this is to be a really good delegator. And make sure you have a lot of people in the organization that you trust, that you can offload functions. And then again, that can save you time. That's one of our things is in our pitches is reduce stress, save time, maximize profits. So time is like the single most important element that you're never going to find in a financial statement. Not on the P&L, not on the balance sheet, not on your statement of cash flows. And people are very poor timekeepers in life, and you end up what I call, I have this bucket in work, I call it wasted time. And when things are in there, I start to get more annoyed and frustrated a little bit. So we, you know, talk about internally, but wasted time is bad. Like if you book a call with someone and there isn't any purpose to it, like why you're going to do it, like go spend that hour with your kids or something, or you know, like stuff like that. It's about how you allocate your time and use it wisely. So I think all that stuff kind of discusses and touches on what you just asked. That's how you do it.
It's great philosophies, man. I feel like, you know, I think maybe a book in the future. I feel like you gotta put these in something, you know, because I mean, I love the fact that, I mean, you're so passionate about what you believe, and, you know, the not caring really about impressing anyone, but in that process, you know, you have so much respect. And people, you know, respect that. I think people always respect the drive, right? I mean, you're right. You know, being in LA, there's so many talkers. There's so many people who are saying they're going to do things, but you know, who really is going to go out there? I mean, I respect the people who actually do it, right? Who you're just going to do it, and then, you know, let's talk about it afterwards. You know, let's talk about how that went. But you know, why say things before you're going to do them? Because oftentimes, you know, people are looking for validation, or someone's going to try to talk you out of it, you know, and I feel like what's the point of that when, you know, if you feel like you really want to try something and do it, then, and I think that's the entrepreneurial journey too, right? I mean, you're never going to be a real entrepreneur if you're always looking for validation from other people, I think.
You know, what people don't realize is that they're a walking FICO score. Right. So there should be like a new score that's created, you know, for people that promise like, hey, I'm going to go do this, but then they actually do it. Because then your word actually means something in life, right? And we do this every day, but no one thinks about it. We do these probably with our employees. Like you assign a task, and if they deliver, you know, it goes up. Like, so we have this ranking, but it's super arbitrary. But, you know, someone created a FICO score, right? So there's like some number out there that calculates, but yeah, like, you know, like we need, our word needs to mean something in life. And I can tell you, and I promise that in 7-8 years of doing this, every time a client, customer, friend, I've helped so many people, came to me and I would just have a conversation, there's not one time I never follow through. Not one time that I not follow through and deliver. I'm always a man of my word, and it's my bond. Maybe like some of the stuff that we're talking about is why our company organically grew consecutively 7 years straight. Like no sales, really no marketing. We have an awesome, you know, partnership with Deloitte, you know, the best CPA firm in the world. You know, it's something we can dive into. It's super meaningful, it's super humbling to someone like me. But, you know, the key aspects of growth is, I mean, determination. I told the team this week on a meeting, unstoppable. I'm unstoppable. Like I'll work 20 hours, whatever it's going to take. Like you got to set the bar high. Like anyone that sets the bar, like it doesn't have to be a numerical. You can have qualitative goals or quantitative, right? But whatever the bar you set, you know what ours is perfection. That's it. The best. When I said like, we want to do crypto and blockchain, it's to be the best. And you know, like why I think we are, and this doesn't come from me, but this comes from my peers and top people in this space. Few reasons. One is we actually care about people themselves. It's not the money, the relationship. People, yeah, you meet, like sometimes you meet people and it's disingenuous or it's just a business. It's a transactional. It's like business. Like for me, like my company's never been about that.
Right.
It's really been like my mission is to help good people.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a good person, so I want to give my time and energy to someone that's is good and good in life and has like a fair mission, and the relationship aspect is extremely, extremely important, if not the most important part of it, which actually more motivates us internally to give more and more and more. But the point that I was trying to make is, as we strive for perfection, every time we hit marks, I always set the next one. We're never done. Mm-hmm. Never done. Never, 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 ever, because then you fail. Yeah. See, the companies that fail are the ones that get comfortable. They're like, okay, we're at a good spot. They stop innovating, and then something in the world happens, like a pandemic or something, and then they just, right, you're like, grow, you get comfortable. Oh, cool. Like, use an example. I'm comfortable making 100K per year or something, right?
Right.
Straight line, something happens, you go to zero.
Right.
But if you're always pushing for perfection, you're always growing, and the results of my company prove it. Grown every year, never stop, because if you do, it's, you can go down. That's scary, right? Like, absolutely. That could be scary, right? But you have to, everyone has to figure out their own path. Like, figuring out growth is just not easy. You asked me 7 years ago how to grow. I had no clue. No clue. That's the truth. There's no clue. But then I decided I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to care about people. And I'm just going to work as hard as possible to do the best for them. And guess what? They told their friends, then told their friends, then told their friends, and you have attorneys, and you have like accounting firms, and it just naturally happens. I think that's the cool part about the world, is the people that I surrounded myself with aren't people that help each other for money. We're literally here helping each other get to the top.
Absolutely.
And I think that's like a cool thing. Like, I'm not here to say, hey, I'm going to refer you someone, send me a check. No, I'm here to help you. Like, if I refer you someone, I don't want anything. Like, no, don't do that. I'm here to really just help you because I like you and you're a good person. And just those mentalities, like a lot of stuff we're talking about. Again, it's just small. There's a lot, right? So it's like a big recipe book, but these are just all little small things. But our determination is bar none. Like, there's no stopping like what we're going to do next year. A lot of cool ideas and new service offering that we're going to roll out, the high net worth division, and targeting more personal individuals. And just, we can't stop, like, perfection, just keep going. Every time there's always something to fix.
Absolutely.
If you don't find anything to fix, then you're probably at a greater degree to potentially fail at some point. So
there's a lot of blind spots, if you're not looking constantly. And I think that's so true. And I love that mentality, because I think every entrepreneur, this is like the hustle mentality that I think every entrepreneur needs to have to some extent, because you have to have always a little bit of paranoia, I think, with your business, because if you don't, you don't know what's gonna, you don't know where the next challenge is going to be. You don't know, where your blind spots are if you're not always wondering, and looking. So, I love you talking about, growth, and just regarding that growth, before, we only have a limited time, I wanted to ask a little bit about, technology, because, right now technology, it's changed the way people have worked over the last 10, 15 years, obviously, that's a given, but certain accounting firms, certain consultants, financial consultants have leveraged it in different ways. How do you feel technology, two-part question, like how do you feel technology has impacted your practice from 7 years ago to today, and how have you leveraged it to support your growth, as opposed to maybe being concerned that it may eat up some revenue streams?
Yeah, look, that's definitely a game changer for a company like mine. I could probably, in my opinion, tell you the most impactful story, how technology actually shaped who we are today. It's had the biggest impact, to be honest, on who we are today. And it was, talking to you about earlier, dropping some hints about how we work with Deloitte. So one thing that's extremely important in my line of work, one is accuracy. We have to be perfect. You can't put a zero on someone's paycheck in the wrong place. You can't pay someone unfortunately, like I do strive for perfection, but our work actually is perfection. So, but technology for sure, like, I focus on efficiencies. I focus on reducing redundancies. Like why, walk into the room and keep hitting the light switch. Why do we need to do that? Hey, Alexa, go turn on the lights. I think that's like automation. Or you can set like schedules, right? We have like the smart lights outside.
Yeah.
Go on at like 7 p.m. So I don't have to spend like 2 minutes walking to the door and then shut it off. That's like a small example that you can multiply by 10 or 100 or 1,000 of how powerful technology really is, first of all. And I take that same aspect and I bring it to our work environment. And the one thing that I built is, we talked about the crypto and the blockchain space where, we're deemed one of the best providers there. And this isn't coming from me. This is coming from the best people that I feel are out there in the space working for the best firms in the world, like Deloitte, who has 80,000 employees, 80,000 plus employees. So so this is an interesting story that is part tech and part like determination and hustle on my part. There was a client of mine in, blockchain space, still a client of mine, that I felt like had overly complex scenarios that required like an expert to be there. I quickly came in, I'm like, okay, we need some real help here. And it was super early on during like a big boom in coins and tokens and stuff. So I was vetting out firms. I talked to the best. KPMG, I'm like, oh wow, they don't know crap. So I kept talking to attorneys, and someone at Perkins Coie mentioned like, oh yeah, we work with like Robert Massey's group at Deloitte. I didn't know who he is. I'm like, okay, sure. But I'm like, I flagged his name in my head. So those days I was waking up like 4 o'clock, 4:30. So I'd wake up and usually the first 20 minutes or 30 I'm reading. So I bet I'm reading like LinkedIn articles. And then so I asked the guy for an intro going back. I asked him, can you do an intro? Because one day I needed it. Oh, wait, I need to check with like Perkins and see. Anyway, the intro didn't happen. So while they kind of mentioned a name drop, like there's no email intro. One day, like 2 weeks later, I'm reading like a LinkedIn article. I swear it's 4:30 in the morning. I'm like reading it. It's interesting. It's tax. I was determined. To find answers for crypto. Determination. So I kept reading articles, learning, self-teaching, just like I did earlier. And then I read an article, like interesting article. It said Robert Massey. I'm like, wait, I remember that name. Someone mentioned that name. So I don't know who he is. I'm like, okay, I'm going to just email him. I still have the email. I kept this thing. So I have like records, proof of everything, the audit trail, right?
Exactly, the audit trail.
That's the whole like account. I kept it because it's super meaningful for someone like me to what this led into. And there's technology involved here. So I just cold emailed him 3 sentences, hey, I heard you're doing cool shit in crypto or something. I'm pretty good at what I do. Let's chat. And I get a response like at 10 o'clock at night. So I was like, hey, yeah, let's just kind of like, it kind of led to personal, like, I don't know, we started talking about kids and he had 2 girls and I had 2 girls. It kind of had like back and forth and it kind of connected before the call, but it's like, okay, let's get on the call. So we get on the call and in like 2 minutes, remember I'm vetting him out because I think I'm trying to match him with the client. In 2 minutes, I'm like, holy crap, that's my dude. I was like, this guy blew me away. I'm like, oh yeah, he knows his stuff. But I'll fast forward to today. He's like the #1 guy, like the global tax leader at crypto. He started it at Deloitte. So anyone in the world and all deals that kind of get approved actually flow through this guy. I didn't know this, just so you know. I'm like, whatever, it's Rob. Someone mentioned his name. So, but it matches, right? Like I felt it. Like, holy crap, he knows. I'm like, cool. I think I found the partner. So we're like, 15 minutes in on a 30-minute call. Vet him out. I'm like, okay, cool. I know what I need to do. And he asked me, okay, well, tell me, like, what are you doing? What are you up to? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this, that. And I said, I built an automation tool for crypto. He's like, huh? I'm like, yeah. I was like, I built this tool that calculates gains and losses, and it's pretty cool looking and whatever. I'm like, why do I want to do the same thing over and over again manually? Like, why would I want to do that? And that's the whole point of tech, right? So he's like, wait. He literally goes, I have a hard stop in like 2 minutes. He got so excited. He's like, I'm about to get on a partner call. Do you mind if I tell him about you? And at that point in time, I knew something special happened. I can tell you that. So same thing, 10 o'clock at night. I guess that's like his, decompression, like by the way, like he gets like 1,000 emails a day
I
or
must
something.
say,
So, you know,
yeah.
so he sends me a note like, do you mind demoing the tool for like 4 team members? So that was like on a Tuesday. I kept the emails for Audit Trail.
Yeah.
Totally about, this was in February 2018. So yes, we set up a demo call. I showed him this tool that I built and how you take all this dirty crypto data, you just stick it in this thing, press a button, you get this awesome report that's accurate that I did Q&A on. And yeah, we still use the tool today. I built a ton of other IP that I can jump into. What I can tell you is just that one tool that I built before anyone else did led to, like, when I got on the call with them, like 4 people, they're like, wait, how do we work with you? Do we lease this from you? Do we buy it from you? Like on this call where I demo this thing, they already got excited
Wow.
like about this.
Uh-huh.
So I haven't,
What
I
was your
answered
answer?
though. I know what I answered. I did answer. I thought about it for a quick second and it wasn't anything different than who I am today. I said, hey, you know what? I don't build tools to market or sell them. I said, at heart, I'm a service provider and I love helping people. So I basically said, I'll get back to you. And I thought about it for 2 days. I left the call on Friday and I sent them an email on Sunday. And I said, okay. So instead of like, again, control is actually important in life too. Control is like a really big thing in business and stuff.
Right.
So I kind of took control of this situation where I felt like there's a huge opportunity. I drafted this email. I probably spent 2 hours crafting, where I spend no more than 5 minutes drafting an email, just so you know. So I spent 2 hours and I just proposed, like, look, if we want to work together, you guys come in and do tax and compliance, and you can send referrals to me, and I can use my tool and help clients do bookkeeping. That was the biggest game changer for our company. Just so we're talking about Rob, I had a call with him earlier today. So we're still like super tight. You know, he's their best guy, by the way. He's probably referred over, my biggest lead generator is just not on my payroll. It's an organic referral.
Wow.
Like he's sent me 10 to 20 companies that I'm exposed to, still working with today, like in that space. You know, some already like I've winded off, like I've done my thing, but big projects that I've never ever been exposed to, because Deloitte themselves, you know, they're Big Four, like,
Right.
you know, 8,000 employees. Like you got to have like a little bit of dollars to get on there. So like he sent me a referral like a month ago, and I'm collaborating with him, you know, their top guy right now. And he told me today, he goes, I'm going to need your brain power a little bit when this project we're working on now is going to get super complicated. And he thinks that I'm the best at what I do. So
Right.
it's kind of like this kind of symbiotic, like super cool relationship where, you know, I talked to him, I was like, hey, like, dude, I got to send you something. No, like, it's just like, you know what they want? They want the same thing I want. They want their clients in good hands. And the
Right.
fact that they trust me, he even said it today again, like, it's just, you know, the cool thing is it's just cool to work with humble people. He's just a good person. He has 2 girls like me, which is a good little connect with him and I, but you know, it's the intellectual property that kind of like set this whole opportunity up. It literally just changed like the whole trajectory of the company, where I don't even have to worry. The only thing I have to do is just live up to my name. That is it. And I always do. There's no doubt there. And it's just been super cool. Since then, we've developed a ton of intellectual property. We have like, I can run 25 sets of financial statements, 100, doesn't matter. Just right now by clicking a button. If I never having to go into like an accounting software, that people have said, holy crap, your financials was like the best thing I've seen. Like this is just feedback that I get about the stuff that I build.
Right.
The Deloitte thing was pretty cool, right? So I think I'm potentially validating to you that you have to set the bar high, but IP leads to efficiency and accuracy. It allows you to scale, like maintaining like enough cushion, right? So it's like, great, I don't have to feel at risk if the market turns. Like I'm not worried about ever like having to terminate anyone or something because of lack of like liquidity. Like those tools and IP can set you up to succeed and allow you to do more, you know, for your team. I think it's important for me to mention this on this call. Like you can't achieve any of this like without your team.
Right.
Like your team is you. We're family at work. I think again, just dropping another thing that pretty big on is, I have two sides of me at work. I'm very good in separating. There's Amir personal. Someone needs to talk to me about personal stuff. I've helped team members outside of the work environment in substantial ways. They'll say it. But in work, I'm this fierce, tenacious, different. I can help you right now outside of here, but at work, I might yell at you. That's just the way it is. Like business is business, but team is number one. I try to not say like, hey, I'm above you or whatever. We're kind of like we're just like doing our part.
Yeah.
It's horizontally with the little dips or whatever, but we're just all doing our parts and everyone has their role. But you can't do it without them. They're my family.
Yeah,
I mean, war for them. I've went to war for them when someone once misclassified one of my employees as an assistant. I went to war. I'm like, dude, what? There's stories, but it's true. Like, it's my family. Don't come after my family. My family means everything to me. So everything I do, I'm still wanting to give. And, I've been told I got a big heart, and I think I'm going to set the bar higher for what I'm eventually going to give back in life when we get to certain levels that I would like to get to. So team's important as part of the story. I know there's the IP side. You got me as like the leader, this fearless guy that, is ready. Like I already know it's chess. I got my next 10 moves already planned out. Like what else is missing? Important execution and timing. Again, there's just so much that you got to figure out. You got to understand the lay of the land before it fruitions. If you're in a space that's dying out, you need to see that 3 years before it dies out. Yeah. Don't be in it while it's dying. By then you already have 5 other things going. So you always got to stay ahead of the curve, and you're just going to succeed. Doesn't matter what you do. I did it through my company, but I could have done anything, plumbing. It doesn't matter. You're just going to succeed if you're just thinking about things differently. I think that's just, again, the nature of JFDI, being a different brand, being a little bit stronger, being authentic, and stuff with my team. That's they're your family.
Yeah, I love that. And I know we're running out of time a little bit, but I mean, I did want to talk a little bit about your team, because I know they are so important, and they're so great, and I hear how the closeness, which is really amazing. I really prize my team as well, and I think building that strong team and being able to lean on each other is critical to anyone's growth, because sometimes as entrepreneurs, you feel like, oh, I know this best, I can do it best, but that's not a way you grow, right? That's not the way. It's by spreading knowledge and inspiring others to grow and others to raise to the bar. And I think, you made such a great point during the conversation about, striving for perfection. If you're the one, it's like Michael Jordan, right? Like, he was the hardest worker out there, and therefore he could get mad at people. He could yell at people. He could do those things because they saw how much he cared and how much he pushed himself, and therefore, they're okay working with someone. Like, he raised the bar. And I feel like, similar kind of, what you're doing, if you don't wake up at 4 a.m., if you're not pushing yourself, it's very hard to tell the rest of the team, to push themselves. I think, living your message is huge here. That's something I take away from this conversation.
JFDI, be a doer, not a talker, right?
Right.
Good. It's a simplistic thing. It's just that simple. But yeah, like I said, I think it's just been cool. Again, was it expected? I don't know. I couldn't see it. I know I'm definitely humble about it, and when I go out there, there's nothing on my website, it says testimonials or whatever. I don't put who my clients are or whatever. We just put our heads down. We're not here to get some award. It's been nice to get recognized. I think I just made the cover of the CIO review for top 10 most promising corporate finance tech providers. Yeah, it put me on the cover. So I guess that was pretty cool. But again, my point is, I don't do things for that purpose. I do things to make sure my clients are just always taken care of, and that's it. That is just focus on the relationship. Just doesn't matter. It could be a personal relationship, right? If people just don't work on it, or why do those relationships fail? Because people aren't spending time focusing on them and working on it. So I'm constantly working and working and working, and like I said, I think it's just the results will kind of speak for themselves no matter what someone does, as long as they have some of these fundamentals about being good, being driven, having like, the no fail mentality. Like we just won't, like I won't allow it.
Yeah.
Just it's not going to happen.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
yeah.
This is great, and I know we started a few minutes late, but I also want to be conscious of your time. You have many emails, I'm sure, to answer. So,
Something like
but this has been awesome, and I feel like maybe there may be a part two in our future because I feel there's so many things still didn't touch on. There's so many questions I still had for you, but I do want to be conscious of the time, and I do really appreciate you spending the time today to chat about your journey, because I mean, man, this is so inspiring. You and I have chatted, several times now, and I know you've been so gracious with, offering to help me, and, even just offering to help without even charging, which was, I thought, so unique. When you look at so many service providers, usually they're asking, okay, well, how much is it going to cost, things like that. But because I think it's focusing on the relationship, focusing on people that you like and you want to work with and you can grow from. And I think hopefully we've been able to help each other too. So it's been it's been great, and I can't wait to see the future for JFDI and our conversations and hopefully our work together in the future too. So
yeah.
is there maybe you can just tell people real quick about where to find you guys, websites, online, how to get in touch, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first I'll say thank you for having me on the show. I always enjoy our conversations. Definitely enjoy your work too. You've helped us out. So you did touch on just, again, being genuine. Again, it proved the theory. It's not always about money in life. So so again, the results can speak, but as far as like contact info, our website, it's probably, one good place to go to. It's just jfdiaccountants.com. There's a contact us page. That's probably one good way. Another way is we have an email address, info@jfdiaccountants.com. So someone monitors inboxes, right? I already spoke about our email
Yeah.
strategy or whatever, but the website's probably like a good place to kind of check out. So yeah, again, I do appreciate our time as well.
Yeah.
And I do like the premise of your show. It's kind of cool. So if you ever, want to do a round number two where we
Yeah.
dive deeper into a few other things, you definitely let me know, and
I
we
think so.
can get that scheduled up. So I appreciate it.
I think that's definitely the future. I think there's a lot more to chat about. And thank you again for your time. It's been awesome. Really, really inspiring to hear your story and the background and just your mentality on the hustle and just fucking do it. So
All right. Sounds good.
have a great one. And until we talk again, thanks a lot.
All right. Have a good day. Have a good weekend and stay safe.
Thank you.